Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining me to this evening's webinar where I'm going to be covering the transition from high school to college. I'm going to be covering a lot of material, and I'm going to go through it relatively quickly. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put those in chat, and I will answer those at the end of the webinar. If you don't have any questions after my presentation, and you have some later, you can always email me. So I am going to go ahead and at this point share my screen and get started. Okay, so let's get the slideshow going from the beginning. Okay, so again, here we are at the end of your high school journey, and you are going to be leaving for college, whether you are going to be moving out of your childhood home and onto campus and attending classes, or if you're going to be, staying in your family home and commuting. All of this will still apply to you, whichever way you're going. And they're both very, very exciting transitions, moving from high school to a whole new, much bigger world of the college university environment. So let me jump right in and start with next steps. So these are going to be the first things that you're going to have to make sure get taken care of. So some of the first adulting steps. You've done quite a few as you submitted your college applications, and then you had to monitor those student applicant portals, right? To see if your applications were complete, and then to find out your admission decisions and all the things after that. But just remember that your admission, your acceptance to these colleges and universities are conditional. So they're conditional upon the very first item here that you'll see, and that is the university must receive your final official high school transcript. So the way that you're going to get this done is you're going to communicate to your counselor at your high school. You're going to communicate to your high school where you're going to be attending in the fall. You've probably already done this. I'm sure questionnaires have come out. But if you haven't seen anything from your high school counseling office, reach out to them and make sure that you know what the process is at your high school for getting this final transcript to the university. Most universities have a deadline of July 1st. That is the University of California and the California State University system deadline. Some universities will have a July 15th deadline, but they need to see that you graduated and that you finished the year taking the classes you said you were going to take and earning strong grades. So that's what they're needing to get from you. And then, of course, if you attended community college, you also need to make sure that those transcripts are sent to your new college. And that is a process. If you remember, when we completed your application to apply to these colleges, one of the steps, if you took dual enrollment or concurrent enrollment classes, was to order your official transcript from whether it was Orange Coast College, Golden West College, whatever college, and have your transcript sent to the schools you applied to. Exact same process. That transcript also needs to be received by July 1st. If you've already finished any of your college level, whether it's community college or Brigham Young University or Johns Hopkins University or whatever, if you've already finished those, go ahead and place that order now. And then the other test or the other document that would be important to make sure you get to your new home, your new college, your new university will be your AP or your IB test scores. So those are going to be the APs and or the IB tests that you passed that you want those scores to go to this school so that you get credit for taking whatever class that AP and or IB class may give you credit for. So for example, if you took AP English language and you passed that AP test with a 3, 4, or 5, then in all likelihood, you won't have to take freshman composition. So important to get your test scores to the university and the college. That deadline is a little bit later because AP test scores from the College Board are typically not released until after July 1st. This year, I believe the website says that they will be released around the 7th or 8th. So your best bet is to log into your College Board account, your IB account, and tell and list the college that you are going to be attending in the fall, so that when those test scores, and then pay for the test scores to be sent, so that when they're available, they will be sent automatically. Okay, and that leads me to these last 2 checkpoints. Please, whatever you do, continue to check your emails frequently throughout the summer and look for any kind of, you want to make sure that you're not missing any deadlines, or if there are deadlines within those emails, that you're responding appropriately. It is absolutely something you cannot ignore. If you do, you ignore at your own peril. Last year, I had two students have their admissions offer pulled, and the university said thanks but no thanks, because you didn't respond to our emails, you didn't meet the deadlines, and obviously not going to be a good fit for us. So fortunately, those students reached out to me. We were able to go into appeal mode, scramble, put some things together, and basically appeal their position. But it was not a slam dunk, and it was very, very, very stressful for everyone involved. Please don't be that student. Keep checking your email, and this should be both your college communications email that you created when you began working with me, and your new college email. So if you're going to Cal State Long Beach, if you're going to UCLA, if you're going to pick one, right? Wherever you're going, keep checking that email as well, because you don't want to miss anything that is critically important for you, obviously, to respond to. Okay, so there you go. Now, fun stuff. Freshman orientation. This is a great opportunity for you to be on campus for a full day. Sometimes they're weekend long. It just depends on your school. But usually there are multiple hours across a single day, and they're going to cover everything from teaching you all about the traditions of the campus, teaching you the cheer of the university, introducing you to the different areas on campus, and making sure you know where to go for different different activities. And I strongly recommend that you sign up for the very earliest orientation possible. And the reason for that is because freshman orientation is also where you are going to be sitting down for the first time with an academic advisor at your new college, and picking out your classes for fall semester. So that is really important that you, again, get in early, because as those sections of those classes begin filling up, your choices are going to narrow and narrow and narrow, so that by the summer, there may not be a lot of great, interesting classes that you're interested, or they may all be offered at 8 o'clock in the morning, which may not be your favorite choice. So again, I do recommend you get into that earliest registration that you can. This could also be the time that you make your final decision about meal plans. That will be described to you. If you're living on campus, there's usually a multitude of meal plans to choose from. I recommend usually starting in the middle. You don't need unlimited meal plans unless you are an athlete, perhaps, who is working out a ton and always hungry. There's just not enough time in the day for you to get in all the food that unlimited meals would offer you. I also don't recommend going to the very low end until you know what, kind of what your schedule is going to be like from semester to semester. So kind of start in the middle. And then if you are going to commute to campus, most universities also offer commuter student meal plans. And I strongly recommend that you sign up for those, and you'll get some meal plans loaded to your card. That will allow you to go into different places on campus and maybe eat in the dining halls with the new friends that you're making that may be living on campus. So that's a good option. And even if you don't go into the dining halls, having some sort of commuter student meal plan will just make it easier to swipe your card and, buy food that way versus always having to, have a debit card or anything along those lines. So just a good option to explore. Okay, the summer bridge programs, those are offered at some universities. Frequently, those are for students who perhaps need some remedial coursework. Maybe they need to catch up in either math or English so that when they start in the fall, they're on the same level as the majority of their peers. So that's sometimes when a summer bridge program is recommended, and that would be something that the admissions office would have shared with you. Bridge programs can also be really terrific for students that have learning disabilities. Many times universities will offer these programs, and so they're basically small cohorts, which is a cohort is a fancy higher ed term that you'll hear a lot, and it just means your group. It means the group of students that you have started together with in a particular program. And that smaller cohort is often just very helpful for students with learning disabilities to get their feet wet on campus, to make some new friends without, kind of the whole bigger environment coming at them all at once when there's so many things to adjust to. So that's another audience that summer bridge programs are often geared to. First generation students, where everything is going to be new and they will be the first ones in their family to experience this. That is also another great use or great purpose for summer bridge programs. So if you do happen to be a first generation student, that would be something I would encourage you to look into, and they're going to introduce you to lots of what's sort of going to be happening to you in the next 4 years, concepts that just you may have never heard of, terminology that you may have never heard of. And again, because you're the first in your family to go to college, your parents will not be familiar with it either. So a couple of really great reasons to explore whether your university has a summer bridge program. Okay, students, these are summer tasks. Just when you thought you weren't going to get any homework from me, I'm going to slip in some last items. And so this is what I would like you to do. Be sure to sign up for safety alerts on your campus. This is for all sorts of things. Unfortunately, in the world we live in, this could be everything from an active shooter to unruly gatherings of students, riots or whatever. Especially with, well, you've been reading the news, and a lot of campuses, there's a lot of unrest. So you would get safety alerts about maybe areas of campus to avoid. It's also safety alerts if, say, electricity goes out in a building, or a water main broke, so whatever might happen. These are big places, and they have to let the people that are going to be coming and spending time in that physical environment aware, alert them to anything that might be happening that would impede or their movement around the campus or risk their safety. So do sign up for those safety alerts. That will benefit you throughout your time on campus. I also want you to spend time exploring your college's website. As you've heard me tell you for the last many months, that in college, you are going to be expected to be resourceful. This is your first big step into adulting. You're going to have to figure out how to solve problems, how to handle issues that come up, so on and so forth. The college website will be a great starting point for a lot of how to solve issues. So spend some time getting to know that website, so that it's better to be prepared, right? Than all of a sudden you have an issue, an emergency, and you don't know where to go. So that would be a good use of your time. I also want you to remember that you are going to need a planner. Again, this is something that we covered during our time together, whether you choose digital or paper, maybe you choose both, whatever works for you, as long as you use it. So this is where it's critical that you have your own system separate from anything on the college's system. A lot of you would have been familiar with, say, Canvas and your teacher putting up your assignments and your deadlines, and when tests are coming up, and when homework is due, and all that kind of stuff. You cannot assume that all of your professors will do anything remotely that detailed in college. So you have to know what your assignments are, when tests are due, when papers are due, or pardon me, when tests are being held, when papers are due, so on and so forth. So that's how you're going to do it, whether it's digital or paper. Okay, clean up and organize your computer. This could be the last summer before the last chunk of time before jobs and classes and all sorts of things impact your days. And so I do recommend that you spend some time deleting old emails, from every college, or even from me, that you just, all that stuff you just don't need anymore, that got you to this day, and your future college in the fall. Get rid of it. Unsubscribe to lists. You just got to try to start with as clean a slate as possible, so that you're only seeing what is important. So that I would want you to do. And then do keep an eye out for any required programs that your major may ask you to download onto your computer before classes begin. Go to your major's department page and read through that and see if there's any information, any direction about any kinds of programs that you might need to get on your system, so that when, again, you start day one, you're ready to go. Okay, complete any required online mini courses. These are not for grades or anything like that. These online mini courses are frequently going to cover topics that may be mentioned in your freshman orientation, but the university needs to go into more depth on the topic. So this is going to include things very possibly like sexual harassment, what it is, what it looks like, what do you do about it, how to not do it. It also might include things on topics of diversity, equity, and inclusion. It could also require, it could also cover topics about drug and alcohol use on campus, things like that. So whatever the university is telling you, you need to watch this video and answer these 5 questions or whatever before you show up in the fall, they're not kidding. It is a deadline. Do it and make sure you get that box checked, if you will. Okay, and then finally, go ahead and start now browsing the clubs and the activities that are available to you on campus. One of the best ways to ensure that you thrive on your college campus and that you have an amazing experience is to join clubs, to engage in your university. There's a reason that universities are looking for students to admit students that were involved in extracurriculars. They want those same engaged people to come onto campus and engage with their clubs, their sports, their activities. If you just drive to campus, or you show up and you walk from your dorm and you go to class, you take your classes and you leave, and you have no other engagement in the university, you could take classes online. That's not giving you that enriched experience of being fully involved and meeting lots of interesting people and getting new experiences. So spend some time looking at those clubs and activities and kind of get a game plan in your head so that when they do have Club Rush on campus in that first couple of days of the fall semester, you already maybe have a target of what tables you want to go to and sign up for. Okay, so that is a good move to do. A few more summer tasks. Read over the summer, keep your mind fresh. Whatever you want to read, right? You finally have this break where you don't have all these deadlines and assignments and things due. And that's just going to be a small window of time. So this would be a great opportunity to read that book that's on the bestseller list, or to finally, dust off some of those books that you had on your bookshelf in your room for a really long time and just haven't had the time. That is a good way to keep your mind fresh and engaged and always learning, but in an enjoyable path. Okay, second bullet, surf the learning management system. So the learning management systems are just essentially a fancy word for things like Canvas. You may have experience with Canvas from your own high school. Blackboard is another popular one. Moodle, Brightspace, Classes 365. Whatever your university uses, I recommend you spend some time learning how to navigate it, because that's where you're going to see your courses. That's where you're going to go get information that your professors have uploaded. That's where you're going to see your grades. That's where you're going to get all sorts of information. So rather than adding to, trying to get all that information when the term starts and maybe things ramp up in a hurry and it's just more stressful, cruise through the system now and become more aware of where you're going to find all that information. And in the same manner, check out your campus. If it's not a campus that you can get to without, a major plane ride or anything like that, check out the campus map. It's better to have at least a rudimentary visual in your mind as to where the library is, the bookstore is, the tutoring center, the rec center, the the stadium where, maybe football games or basketball games are played. Like, just kind of get an idea as to where things are, what the layout of your campus is. And then I have this bullet again because it's that important. Don't ignore your email. You've got to check them 3 to 4 times a week. And remember that deadlines are deadlines. You are now an adult, and the college will treat you like that. And there's not a lot of grace on these deadlines, if any. And so, word to the wise, and yeah, just don't let that be you. Make sure you're meeting all those deadlines. Okay, dorm life. So if you happen to be a student that is going to be moving onto campus and having the dorm experience, make sure, I believe at this point, you have all completed the residence questionnaire. You have all at the same time or about the same time completed a roommate questionnaire. So hopefully you have now been assigned a roommate, and that summer's a great time to either meet in person if they're local, meet over Zoom if they're not. Certainly share texts, instant messages, all that kind of stuff. Just get to know them a little bit, and you want to coordinate a few things. So you're 2 people, maybe some universities, you might be in a room of 3 for freshman year. These are small rooms. No matter what campus you're on, they are going to be much smaller than you're used to. And you have to coordinate with the people that are going to be living in that room with you, who's bringing what. So the university will provide the bed, the desk, the dresser, that kind of thing. But any extras, if you want a futon or sort of a nice little kind of foldable couch, if you want a refrigerator, absolutely get a refrigerator so you can have some fresh food without having to go to the places on campus every minute to get food or drink. And then a microwave. So universities will let you bring a mini fridge and a microwave. They might allow you to bring a hot pot. There's many things they won't allow you to bring, and that's going to include things like, well, anyways, you'll see the list, but you don't want to show up move-in day and have 2 refrigerators, 2 microwaves. You just won't have room. So coordinate with your roommate. Don't forget to bring a set of dishes and some dish soap. There's no dishwashers. So you're going to be, if you do eat in your room and you want to eat on something other than paper plates, you might, you're going to need to clean up after yourself. And that's a hot tip. Lofting is very popular in dorm rooms, and that's basically lifting the bed up to a higher level. And so depending on the campus, the lift will be, made out of different materials, but they're going to be really strong so that you can lift your bed up and either put one of the other beds at a T underneath, or sometimes students will loft their beds and put a futon underneath and a little refrigerator and make kind of like a little study area, reading nook, hangout place that's just not your bed. Because again, small space, and you want to try to make it as cozy and comfortable as possible. But lofting is a great way to give yourself some more space. If you do not, if you're not going to be in a suite style situation, living situation, where you're sharing a bathroom with a few other students, if you're in the traditional hallway dorm, that means that you need to bring some kind of a carry-all that you can take your shampoo, your all of your toiletries, and walk down the hallway with all your stuff so you can shower, brush your teeth, wash your face, do all those things. Some dorms will have lockers, and you can basically, just like in your high school, you can have a locker, put a lock on it, and keep your stuff there. If that's available to you, awesome. But if you don't know, or if they don't, then you're going to need some kind of a carry-out. And then finally, I do recommend that you bring a small safe, just something to be able to lock up any kind of valuables that you might have. So again, these are small rooms, and what makes for kind of a fun dorm experience is if you leave your door open, so that when people are walking up and down the hallway, they'll pop in their head and say, hey, I'm so-and-so from, from this place. And that's how you're going to meet a lot of your new friends, especially that first semester. And so, but having your door open, could, and say you run down the hallway to the restroom, you're leaving your room perhaps open and vulnerable. So just be aware, right? There could be people coming in and out. Your roommate, right? Their new people that they've met will possibly be coming in and out. So if you have anything that you just can't keep an eye on, or if you take medication should be locked up too, so that it doesn't walk away. I recommend just ordering one off Amazon and bringing that with you as well. Okay, now I'm going to shift gears. I'm going to talk about the 6 ways that college is different from high school. Now, these are really important ways, and you will learn this very quickly as you begin taking classes and interacting with professors. But good for you to hear now, and at least have heard it once and have it in your mind a little bit. So the first way that college is very different is that time is now going to be managed by you and not the school. So high school, right? You got onto campus 7:30 in the morning. You took all of your classes, right? And the schedule was the same day in and day out for the most part. And you were in class all day until, noon or 2:30, whenever it is that you got out. And that schedule was set by your high school. College is going to be basically flipped from that. You are going to spend a very little amount of time in the classroom. For every 3-unit class you have, you're going to be attending essentially 3 hours of lecture during the week. So if you have a Tuesday, Thursday class that's 3 units, you're going to be going for approximately an hour and a half on Tuesday and an hour and a half on Thursday. That leaves the other 22.5 hours wide open, right? Now you're going to have more than one class, but for illustration purposes, you're going to see that you're just spending a little bit of time in the classroom throughout the week, and then you have hours upon hours at your disposal. So it's critical that you understand that free time is when you need to schedule yourself so that you're getting your time in for each class to do the homework, to do reading assignments, to learn on your own, to read any material that the professor assigned on the syllabus, but perhaps hasn't talked about in the class. You're responsible for your time outside of lecture. So you want to know that up front and just realize that, yes, there's going to be a lot of freedom, but there's also a lot of freedom to fail. And I don't want you to fail. I want you to think about, for every class you have, make sure you're scheduling appropriate time every day to get all the things done to be successful in that class. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, college professors are very, very different animals than high school teachers. They're very nice, but they are going to approach you as an adult. They expect you to act like an adult. They expect you to respond like an adult. And they're going to treat you like an adult. That part of that is that they're going to expect you to learn and think independently. They will not be spoon feeding. That's I know that's a derogatory term, and I don't mean it to sound belittling, but they're not going to be uh, serving up everything on a silver platter, so to speak. They're going to, on day one, give you a syllabus. They might go over the syllabus and kind of tell you what is in that syllabus. Some may not. They just may send you the syllabus, give it to you, and go, all right, let's get to the lecture. And you have to, in all circumstances, every class, read that syllabus. Make sure you know what books are being required, what readings are being required, what videos you may have to watch, when the due dates are for projects, assignments, labs, when quizzes are scheduled, when tests are scheduled. All of those dates, all of that is 100% your responsibility. There's not a lot of grace to come to a professor and say, I didn't know the quiz was today. I'm so sorry. Can I reschedule it? Can I take it a different time? I didn't know. That's not going to work. You are going to sit for the quiz and you're possibly not going to do very well. But anyway, that's the whole purpose of the syllabus, is so that you have the roadmap for the entire semester of this class, and professors expect you to be ready and be prepared, and yeah, just own your education and make it happen. So that is what is going to be, could be a steep learning curve for you, but I have no doubt that you will get it and you will do just fine. It just takes a little getting used to, and it helps now that you know it's going to be different than high school. Okay, the third thing, you already know this, cramming for a test at the last minute doesn't work. You may have gotten by, you may have skated through in some of your classes, on some assignments in high school by cramming at the last minute. Please don't expect that that's going to be the case in college. For every 1,000 students, there might be less than one that can do that still. It just is not possible because the material is significantly harder, the volume is significantly harder, or the volume is significantly bigger, and the information is a lot denser. So you're not going to just be sort of dancing along the surface of topics anymore. You're going to be going deep into this information. And that is going to require that you go over your notes after each class, that you do the reading in preparation for the class, that you maybe reread after the class so that you have the concepts down, that you do research in the library to further understand a concept. All those things need to happen, and it's cramming at the last minute will not obviously allow you the space or the time to do a good job on it. Okay, moving over to some fun stuff. Social life. So your social life is wide open. Woo-hoo, this is what you've all been waiting for, right? You will meet a ton of new people from all walks of life, different ages, different life experiences, and you're going to be doing different activities with them on campus. You're going to be eating with, all sorts of different people a day after, day after day. So that is very, very exciting. But just remember, with freedom comes responsibility. So maybe some of those online courses that your university may have you watch will cover some of the things that might come up that you might experience as you are doing the social scene of college and going out with your new friends and so on and so forth. So anyways, just you and your parents, I'm sure, have lots of conversations about things like that, but with freedom comes great responsibility, and I'll leave it at that. Okay, number 5, you might be sharing a very small personal space with a stranger. Again, this one is geared towards students who will be having living on campus in a dorm or a suite or something along those lines. And just know that you're going to have to negotiate most everything. What will be the temperature, sort of the standard temperature in the room? Are overnight guests allowed? Are guests allowed to come in? You know, like whatever the case is. Underage drinking is not allowed on any campus, but that doesn't always stop students from wanting to having access to and wanting to have alcohol in the room, and maybe other things. And it's important that you know what the rules are, what your boundaries are, and you know that you have to be able to have sometimes challenging conversations with your roommate. But it's your living space too, and you need to make sure that you can stand up for yourself and communicate your desires, all the while, you know, one can negotiate things like temperature. Is the window open while you sleep? Is it closed? When do the lights go out? You know, that kind of thing. Some other things are maybe a little less negotiable for you, okay? And then finally, number 6, from money to mood, you are now going to be responsible for taking care of yourself. If you're living from home, chances are your parents will still have plenty of feed or input on into your life, and even if you're not living at home. But realistically, these are again the first steps that you're taking into adulthood. So that means that you need to you know, begin taking responsibility and managing your money. You need to take responsibility for relationships and relationships with professors. You need to take responsibility and handle issues that come up with your schedule, and whatever, all the administrative stuff that goes along with being a college student. Those are things that you will now be responsible for and have to learn how to handle. That's not something that your parent will be allowed to, for one thing, or should even be asked to come in and rescue or help or whatever. So obviously they'll always be your mentor, your advisor, but the role's going to shift a bit, right? So just keep that in mind as you are now stepping into this sort of new world. Okay, for the parents that have joined us tonight, I want to make sure that I share with you some ideas or some points that you may not have yet thought of. So this next couple pages are just a quick checklist of things that I recommend you get set up for your kiddo before the fall semester starts. So they should have their own bank account. They should have their own checking account. And if they are, again, moving off out of your home, and they should ideally have a checking account at a bank that's in the local area to wherever they're going to school, and then a debit card, obviously, so that they can access funds. Students may not yet know the difference between a checking account and a savings account. This would be a great time for a finance 101 class. Just explain what that is. If there are checks, if they have physical paper checks, that are part of this new bank account. Teach them how to write out a check. That is something that may never come up because I don't know that people really write too many checks anymore. But anyways, something to think about if indeed they do get checks associated with their bank account. And definitely you want to set up a Venmo or some sort of cash app so that you can get, funds to your student on the fly if their, bank account that where maybe you're adding money to, or their job, they're depositing money, but maybe it gets too low because it takes a while for all of us to learn how to manage our assets, right? You can get money to them so they have money for food and gas and all that fun stuff. And then something as basic as knowing how to address an envelope. It's kind of shocking. My own kiddo didn't know these things. So we have taught them, pardon me, about that. And there's going to be times where they have to put something in the mail and they may not have you to ask. They can Google it. And so Google is always a good parent substitute. Well, not always. Sometimes Google can be a good parent substitute, but wouldn't hurt for them to know how to do that life skill before school starts in the fall. Okay, parents, you too should sign up for Campus Safety Alert. I will never forget when my oldest daughter went away to school at Montana State in Bozeman, which if you've ever been to that campus, it is considered rural, surrounded by mountains and a lot of open land. And I got an alert that first semester that there was a bear on campus. And I was like, excuse me? I just was very surprised and, wanted to obviously to make sure she was safe and that she knew there was a bear on campus and she was not going to be walking in the vicinity of where this bear had been spotted. So you probably won't have that same experience, but even if you do, it's good for the parents to at least kind of know what is going on safety-wise while their child is away at school. Also, I recommend you join the college's parent Facebook page. So parents still spend time in the Facebook arena, maybe some more than others, but I would say I can't think of a school yet that I've heard of that doesn't have a parent Facebook page. And this is a great way to share information, get help from parents that have already been through this with their own child, to ask questions, to learn about all sorts of, just to get lots of insider information. Just a great resource. So do that. Definitely get a calendar of events from the college website. In particular, universities have something called Parents Weekend. This is the college version of back to school night, but it's usually over the course of 2 days. Not all, but many. Often, if your student is going to a college that has a football game, it is going to be centered around one of the football games that happens on a Saturday. So there's going to be lots of activities. You're going to get lots of fun swag. You're going to get to see your child, maybe meet some of their new friends. But again, just a super fun weekend and a great experience. The hotel rooms book up really fast in the area. So make sure that if you can't drive there and back in one day, make sure that you book your hotel room really early. I've given you an insider tip with this graduatehotels.com. Go to that website, see if they have locations where near the university where your child will be going, and they have great rates, offer great discounts for parents. And pardon me, even if you don't see graduate hotel locations on their website near your kids your child's school, ask when you're making the reservation, do you offer discounts for parent weekend? You know, my child's a student at University of Notre Dame, or what, you know, again, wherever, but definitely a good thing to take care of sooner rather than later. Okay, so now as far as health and medical, whether your child is going to be staying at home, living at home and commuting, or again, moving out of your home and onto campus, these are all really important things that should be in place. Your child absolutely should have an insurance card and keep a copy of it somewhere in a safe place. I've had the phone call many times. I had to go to the doctor, had to go to the urgent care. I don't have a card. I don't have a health card. It takes a while for us all to get all those adulting pieces in place, for the frontal lobe of the brain to fully develop so that the executive function and decision-making pieces are all in place. So some of these take a while for your child rather, to maybe just, you know, already to know. And so these again are suggestions for to help in that transition time. They may have never filled out an intake form when they go to an urgent care or to a doctor's office. They won't know how to answer those questions. So, you know, get one from your primary care physician. Maybe they'll give you an example, or you can probably download one from Google, but just so your child knows how to answer all of those questions that form is going to ask. And you might be in a meeting at work, or you might be off on a vacation because you're free, or who knows, but you might not be available. Have a plan in place, and we'll talk about this in the next slide. Share a file with a complete list of any medications that they take, any allergies, chronic illnesses, past surgeries and procedures. I guarantee you your kid has no recollection of if they got their tonsils out and when that was, if they, you know, if they had maybe surgery to set a broken arm or a broken leg or something. They don't know all that information. So get it into a Google sheet and share it with them so that they can answer their healthcare providers' questions. And then definitely make sure that your child has a copy of their immunization record. The immunization record is one of the required documents. If you have not already sent it, your child will be asked to send it to the university. They will not be able to move in if they're living on campus, if they do not have the immunization on record. Typically, that immunization will require a current tuberculosis test. So that is another thing to do over the summer. Get a TB test. It's easy. You just go into, make an appointment. They prick the forearm and they put a little drop of TB in there, and then you come back in 72 hours. And if there's no bump, if it's nice and flat and there's no reaction, then they're TB free, and they get their they get signed off on that. There are other immunizations that universities require. That is all available on the website, and you've got to make sure that those are all current and up to date, and sent preemptively to the university if they're going to be living on campus. If not, just make sure your student, your child has a copy of it handy somewhere in their important documents. And then finally, that Google sheet could include basically a family history. So that's going to be everything from your medical history, you know, significant things, any surgeries, any chronic conditions, to grandparents. Those are the two levels that would be helpful for your child to be able to share to get the best care. Okay, getting towards the end, sorry, of all the legal stuff and the healthcare stuff. Legal documentation. When your child moves onto campus, or again, if they're staying at home, but as soon as they're officially now part of the university. And as part of that university, you have no right as a parent. That means that you cannot ask for any information about, well, you can ask, but the university will not give you any information about your child's classes, about their grades, about any health care that they've received from the university, anything that any interactions that they've had at the university. That is all covered under what is called the Federal Education Rights Privacy Act. And that's what this FERPA, the third bullet down, is all about. You also, once, you know this, right? Once your child turns 18, in the eyes of the law, in the eyes of, they can enter into contracts. They are now an adult. And so you cannot be given healthcare information from any of their healthcare providers. You cannot make decisions, any legal decisions. You don't have access to their bank accounts. Like, all of that stops when they turn 18. And in the case of the university, you already have access to no information. So here is what I recommend you put in place so that you do have access to information. And really, more importantly, in case anything happens to your child. Unfortunately, my youngest daughter was in a horrible accident sophomore year, and she was incapacitated. She couldn't go to school. She was medically in a really, really bad place, and everything fell apart for that semester. And yours truly, who is telling you to do this, had not done any of this because she was living at home, and I figured, oh, it's all fine. I'll be here. Like, nothing, what could go wrong? Stuff can happen, and then you are in the very unenviable position of not being able to help your child to the extent that you want to. So I recommend getting a durable power of attorney. And what that is where the student can appoint you, the parent or parents, to handle their finances and make medical decisions if they are unable to do so. So that's what durable power of attorney will get you. Advance directive, I believe you've all heard of that. That's, of course, a written statement of a person's wishes regarding any medical treatment. That is helpful to have in place. FERPA is that very long name that I stated a moment ago, the Federal Educational Rights Privacy Act. And what FERPA says is that parents, nobody has any right to the student's educational records of any kind, period. But there is something called a FERPA waiver form. And you can go onto the website, your child's college's website, go to the search icon, type in FERPA waiver or FERPA waiver form or FERPA form, and that will bring up a link to the form that your child fills out, naming you, the parent, as yes, having access to their educational record. They sign it, And that document needs to be then sent to the registrar's office at the university. When those steps have been taken, you can actually call up the registrar's office and say, is my student enrolled? You know, like if you are not sure they're going to class and doing their thing, like you can actually call the university and ask questions. Hopefully it would never come to that, but you just never know what life's gonna throw at you. So that is a really good thing to have in place. It's also important to have in place because in my circumstance, when my daughter was incapable of doing these things for herself, I needed to be able to email her professors and say, hello, Professor so-and-so, I'm, you know, my daughter's parent, she's had an accident. We have a FERPA on file with the registrar's office. Can you help us by emailing assignments or giving her an extra week until she's able to, engage online or whatever the case was. Without that, I couldn't engage. I couldn't do anything. So we had to get that in place, and then it made it a lot easier for me to support my child. HIPAA, so that is the healthcare act that again says that once you're 18, all of your medical records are your own and are private. And so for the same reasons that I've talked about these other things, I recommend you get a universal HIPAA waiver added to the durable power of attorney. That becomes part of the durable power of attorney document. And that then gives you the ability to communicate with doctors, with mental health professionals, with medical facilities, all those people that may be helping your child through whatever is going on. Okay, if you do not have a family attorney or access to or know of anyone that could perhaps help you, mamabearlegalforms.com, they have packages. It's all very boilerplate material, but for this kind of thing, it could very well be sufficient. And for maybe $100, $150, you can buy the forms that you need, fill in the information, and then online, get it printed out, and then you take it to a notary, and you have the document notarized, and then you keep it somewhere safe, right? So that is a resource if you don't happen to have a family attorney or know of an attorney that you can use. Okay, I'm not going to go through all this. I'm going to be sending you a copy of this PowerPoint, but all important things, if your child is going to be driving, many of these things you probably have already set up, but just again, a nice little checklist and a reminder. If your child is going to be moving out of the area and into a new area, but maybe cars are not allowed that first year on campus, or maybe they're not bringing one, maybe they don't have their own car, whatever the case is, if they're going to be using any kind of public transportation, the right-hand column would apply. And those are important tips to make sure that, again, your child is ready and prepared and can get around the new city that they're going to be living in. Okay, campus resources. So universities are little mini cities and they have a plethora of resources, the vast majority of which are free to your child after they pay tuition and fees, right? So you make your payment, and that then opens up access to all of these different services and places and resources on campus. I've highlighted some of the most important ones And these are all ones that I encourage all students to know where they are and to use them. The Math Center and the Writing Center, unless there's really probably no reason or no anything that your your child should not be in that Writing Center before they turn in anything for the first time in college. Go to the Writing Center, sit with these well-trained, very highly skilled writers. These are usually upperclassmen, juniors and seniors that aced the writing classes long ago. Maybe they're majoring in English or some kind of writing heavy major, and they work in the Writing Center. But go to them so that your child should go to them and have their initial papers reviewed, because it takes time to be able to write at that collegiate level, even if you've taken AP English, AP History, AP whatever. It doesn't matter. You're now stepping up a whole nother level, and you should make sure that you're ready to go and you know what you're doing, and you're submitting a well-written paper. So that is absolutely a top place that should be visited. If you have math classes and math is not your first love, use the Math Center. My goodness, lots of great tutoring. This is all part of what your fees pay for when whoever's writing the check, tuition and fees, this is the fees part. Academic support. If you're struggling, if you can't quite figure out, how do I manage all of this time? I've got, 9 hours in class. How do I manage all the other hours to be successful for those classes? The Academic Support Center is there to help you, to teach you. They've got people that will sit down and help you build a schedule. You can it'll be color coded. Like, they'll teach you all those skills, because again, they know that this is all new to so many people, and they want you to be successful. The library, that's self-explanatory. Academic advisors are the people that you're going to meet in freshman orientation, and they're going to help you pick out your classes. You may have an academic advisor that may stay the same for your first, many semesters or all of your semesters. Frequently, this is kind of an entry-level job at a lot of universities, so there may be a lot of turnover. Don't freak out, like it's not a reflection that your university is not terrific. Just know this is kind of an entry-level job into university employment. So there may be turnover, but as long as your academic advisor each semester is helping you choose those classes that will get you to graduation in 4 years, that's their job. Then, as you begin taking classes within your major, whatever your major ultimately happens to be, you will have a professor become your advisor. Usually that's something that you have a relationship with one of your professors, you've developed, and you ask them to be your major advisor. Sometimes it's assigned. Again, it depends on the university. And that professor will help you make sure that you're taking the courses that you need to graduate with that major. And they're going to help you choose any concentrations, any specialties within the major. They'll be the person that you dialogue with to make sure that you're on the path that you want to be ultimately to get your career going after graduation. Student Disability Services Office, if you have a 504 now or an IEP, this is where the place where you will need to register with a Student Disability Services office to make sure that you that your accommodations are that you're receiving accommodations in college. You have to initiate this process This is something that if we have not already discussed, please reach out to me and I will make sure that you know exactly what to do, and I'll walk you through all of the steps so that, again, you're fully ready to go day one fall semester. The rest, I believe, are pretty self-explanatory. The counseling center I'll call out because that is where you will be able to receive a set number of free mental health appointments. So say you are just finding college and managing college and the social part and family life and it's just overwhelming you. You and pretty much everybody that enters college. Not everybody admits it, and everyone else looks like they're doing fine. Not true, right? But you got to take care of you. The counseling center is a terrific resource to go talk to somebody and have them help you negotiate this transition period in your life. It's a big transition period. So know that you get a certain number, whether it's 5 sessions or 8 sessions or unlimited sessions, you do get a certain number of sessions free with a professional psychologist. So that can be a great resource as well. Now, you're going to need to identify off-campus resources. And this applies even if you're going to be commuting to campus. You want to try to get a lot of your support and be aware of the surrounding area so that, say you've been at class all day and you have to go home and cook dinner for yourself, know where the local grocery store is, or Trader Joe's, so you can go get your supplies and then, have it so that when you get home, you've got what you need. If of course you're going to be living out of your home and in a whole new area, if you need, it's just important to make sure any kind of healthcare providers, if you have a chronic condition, make sure that you find a local healthcare provider. If you see a psychologist for any reason, make sure you've got one set up locally, or the one that you have at home is open to doing Zoom kind of sessions. You got to find all that out before you get to wherever you're going, and then all of a sudden, you're not being taken care of physically or emotionally or mentally because these things are not in place. Prescriptions. If you have a prescription, again, monthly, that you're taking and can't be without, prescriptions don't always travel over state lines. It's not allowed. So you have to get your prescription transferred or written, a new prescription written and filled in a nearby pharmacy. Good to know where the local ER is and the closest urgent care facility. Go ahead and put those phone numbers in your phone. And again, we talked about the grocery store, gas stations, car washes, all that kind of stuff. You're going to be adulting now, and it's good to know where these things are. Okay, we are getting towards the end. Bear with me a few more slides. College study tips and resources. I've given you 3 of my favorites. Again, college is going to be very, very different. It's going to be dense information coming at you like a fire hose. A lot of it all at once and just kind of nonstop. So how do you manage that? Well, you obviously have begun learning the skills in high school, but they may not be sufficient to take you through college in all your college years. I recommend you spend some time at this first link. Stanford University requires all of its freshmen to go through a semester-long course that teaches them how to take notes in their classes, again, at the college level, study skills, the healthcare, the mental health, and all those things that need to be happening as a well-oiled machine for you to be successful in the classroom. So this link will take you to their free resources on their website, and there's lots of great tips and tools that are available for free to anyone. So please please go look at that over the summer. If you find yourself struggling mightily, and I mean mightily, during any of the semesters that you that you're in college. It could be the first one, it could be the 5th semester. There are companies out there, and this is one of them. This is the one that we used for our daughter, College Success Plan. And these are mentors. These are adults that have been trained in teaching executive function skills, in walking alongside young adults to make sure that they know how to structure, plan, and execute the cadence of college so that they can then do very well in all their classes. Sometimes it's not the content of classes that give students a hard time in college. It's the executive function part. It's the planning part. It's the scheduling part. It's the administrative stuff that has to happen in order for you to take your class. So there's a lot of parts in college that are outside of your courses and your work in your courses. And unless both of those are operating at a high level and well, you might find that your grades are falling off the cliff. All sorts of things might be presenting challenges for you. Check out this resource. They literally became the difference for my youngest daughter, who after her horrible accident fell into a depression and just couldn't get it all together, essentially. So her grades took a huge dip. She wanted to drop out of college, and now we've got this 19, almost 20-year-old who, puts parents in a challenging position, right? Because the relationship has changed and they need to learn to adult. Long story short, this was the answer for her. She met with her college mentor weekly. That college mentor made sure that she knew what her assignments were, where she needed to be, built in a calendar that had all of her classes, all of her labs, all of her study time, her work time, her quiet time, her downtime, and built this calendar. And then every week checked in. Okay, how did this go? How did that go? How did this go? How did that go? And there was more to it, but it took the onus off of me as mom. And she got to learn how to fly solo. And not only did she stay in school, but she graduated with her bachelor's degree in biology a couple weeks ago. And she'll be applying to veterinarian school, graduate school, before too long. So it just took a few semesters of some additional support. And there's other companies that provide it, but this is the one that I recommend because I have firsthand experience and they were exceptional. Okay, last piece, my homework student planner app. Check it out. You might find it to be really, really helpful. Okay, last resource, how to become a straight A student. This is an oldie but a goodie. A gentleman by the name of Cal Newport wrote this quite a long time ago, but it is just, again, college is different. Just spending more time reading the textbook and going over your notes is not always the best way to study. So he teaches students, again, like the Stanford material, how to study so that you do good, so that you will do well in your classes. You can buy this cheap, used online. And the last thing I want to talk about before we wrap up are scholarships. So if you're going to be going to college for 4 years, no matter where you go, it's very expensive. Every semester is a new opportunity and a new bill. So you will be getting a bill every semester that has to be paid so that you can enroll in your classes and do all these things. You can always, always, always apply throughout those 4 years for scholarships and try to help offset some of the costs, right? So don't stop just because like you're out of high school. Like, definitely don't stop. These are 3 resources that I recommend you spend time on. Going Merry is a database kind of for outside private scholarships. This is where you're going to fill out a profile, and every week Going Merry will email you, we think you are eligible for these scholarships. And then you can look at them and see if the application is not too horrible and apply. And then who knows, right? However, you're going to have a higher propensity, a higher percentage success rate if you use the college's website and apply to scholarships that are available only to students that go to your college, your university. Some of these are only available to students at your college or university in your major. So that's why I put the third one. And the way you find out about these is that your college website will have a portal that is only accessible for enrolled students, right? Registered students, and start checking that out and see what you might be eligible for. And these are scholarships that frequently have been set up by alumni. So they might be for $500. They might be for $2,000. Whatever. It all adds up and it all helps. Departmental website, departmental scholarships can possibly be found on the school's department website. Another good person to ask is people that work in the department. Get to know the administrative assistant, the people that work in the front office of your department, and say, hey, do you know of any scholarships that I might be able to apply to because I'm majoring in chemistry, or I'm majoring in business entrepreneurship, or I'm majoring in applied math, whatever, right? All those majors have their own department. So go ask, okay? Because it all will add up, and you can do this throughout the entire 4 years. There's no rule that says you have to have all your scholarship money in place before you take your first class. Not true. Okay, and that leads me to my last slide, which is, if you recall, behind me, you've been staring at it for months and months. I keep this framed. It's a Bible verse, but the big message at the very top is, it'll be great. You are ready. You are prepared. You have successfully going through the college application and submission process has brought you well into your first foray into adulthood, and you've done it beautifully, and I'm super, super proud of all of you. It's been my pleasure to work with you and an absolute joy. Thank you for letting me be part of your journey. Congratulations, and please know that I am here as a resource for you. Send me instant message. If we're Instagram, connections, send me an email, whatever. I would be delighted to try to help any way I can in the future. So remember that, it's an open door, open invitation. And with that, I will thank you for joining me tonight, and I wish you all the success in the world.